I'm just going to hand over to Jenny now to show us a bit of an instructional video taking us through the process of creating birch syrup. Over to you, Jenny.
Hi. Right, so I think you can all hear me. I'm Jenny. This is Brian. So we'll be just doing a couple of little presentations. So just as a quick introduction to the birch video, when we started the Dewis Gwyllt project, we had a number of products in mind, some of which we'd sort of picked up from ideas from the Star Tree project, and some sort of looking around at what resources we thought we had in Wales. And looking around, it's really obvious we've got lots and lots of birch trees, and birch trees here in the UK we don't use as timber. So a lot of these trees are sort of like seen as being scrub, as being having no value. And being aware from visiting Finland and Estonia and what have you, that they have a whole industry based around birch sap, we thought, well, we've got all these birch trees that have got no value here. Would it be useful to add some value to those and get people to kind of love their scrub, as it were? So right at the beginning, we thought that we'd explore that. So we started in January 2019 and did a trial tapping and produced some syrup, which those of you who were at the Royal Welsh Show last year might have got a taste of. So this year we intended to do a little bit more on that, but unfortunately, with COVID and everything, it shut down just as we were just about to get going. So we managed to do a little bit on a property that we could get access to even through the shutdown. So what we did was we were doing that is we took some little bits of video, thinking that birch's sap is looking good. So if I just we've done it as a little instructional video. So it's well, we'll see how it goes. It's the first time it's been shown. So if you've got any comments on how we might improve it or anything, that would be very welcome. So let's see if I can get this going. that's what we did this year. I mean, that makes it look as if it's quite complicated at the end, because if you want to obviously sell it, it's got to be done to food hygiene standards. If you want to just make some for yourself, obviously you can do those final stages in your own kitchen. So that's where we've got to with it. We understand something about how to tap it, and we can make syrup. But if I hand you back over to Maria, she'll explain what's happening next.
Thanks, Jenny, and thanks, Jenny, and also to Jenny and Brian's son Kai, who put that amazing video together. We're loving the bird. We're definitely going to be using that more in the future, I think. Animating our logos is probably the way to go. Yeah, so as Jenny mentioned, so that was kind of the trials of birch tapping, and I've noticed in the chat there's people asking if can we have this video and we need to watch it again, and yes, hopefully we'll be able to make this available to people. But one of the things we're also doing, and one of the things that Wild Resources is looking at, and we're hoping to have in the next couple of months completed, is a kind of how-to guide, a resource for people that's basically taking you through all the stages and things to be aware of, and all the different aspects of it. But one of the things that the testing between, so that's now kind of two small years of testing really of birch sap tapping that we've done, and one of the things that we realise is it's quite labour intensive. There's a lot of dragging around big kind of bottles worth of syrup, and it's quite if you're not boiling down straight away, you're not reducing it straight away, there's a lot of storage needed. So currently we've got Sasha, we've got some birch sap from last year. I think we've got 200 litres in Sasha's freezer in South Wales. There's some in my freezer at home. We've got some in the freezer at the hub, and we've got some in Jenny and Brian's freezer, and we've currently got some that the Food Technology Centre at Horeb is reducing for us, because obviously we couldn't do it ourselves due to COVID, so they're very kindly doing that bit of the process for us. So we identified that one of the limiting factors for it being kind of a viable product were these logistical aspects of it, and looking at ways to possibly add a little bit of research to the Dewis Gwyllt project, which doesn't actually cover the some of the product testing and some of the other things we wanted to do to find out how we could actually help reduce the sap on site so that it's more viable and it's more easily transportable and storable, really. So Jenny and Brian did a bit of research and discovered another funding stream that we could apply to, it was called the European Innovation Partnership Funding, and it's administered through Farming and Forestry Connect, and it is funding. It's not huge amounts of funding, it's a small amount of kind of research funding to introduce innovation and new ideas to farm and forestry businesses. So we applied to that through Farming Connect, and we were successful in gaining a small amount of funding that's going to help us test different configurations of supply chains from small scale producers over a period of 2 years, with the aim of establishing an economically viable model for birch sap supply. So as the raw product, as the video mentioned, is highly perishable, it needs to be processed on site, ideally in the woods, quickly to make it more stable and for storage and transportation. So the EIP project, which we're calling Dewis Bedu, Choose Birch, will allow us to trial 2 methods of partially reducing the sap on site in order to make it more stable. So we're going to test the simple evaporator pans, as you saw in the video, but also reverse osmosis, which is much faster and produces a cleaner product, but does involve a fair bit of kit. So we're actually having, I think, some reverse osmosis kit made as a prototype, because it's not available in this country at the moment, and that will be tested over 2 years. And we're going to try both technologies just to see, compare and contrast and do some more research, but there'll also be some research into the sustainability, what happens to the trees, and long-term effects on the birch of tapping. So the EIP is going to work with a combination of community woodland groups that expressed an interest in the first year of the Dewis Gwyllt project, and especially particularly those who've got access to a birch resource, which is kind of a bit of a prerequisite. So we're working with Caerphilly Woodlands Trust and Abergavenny Woodland Group. We're working with one small business that will be working on a community woodland site in Anglesey, Llyn Mawr, and a bushcraft and foraging business, Wild Spirit, from Bridgend, who are looking to diversify into new products. So the idea of the EIP is it runs alongside and complements Dewis Gwyllt. So Dewis Gwyllt will still be supporting community woodland groups with advice and resources, and hopefully some training if people want to try birch tapping themselves. And the EIP will be doing the further research into making the project more economically viable.